Hi, I'm Kula, Kentico MVP. In this episode, we'll be going through some very simple concepts relating to staple feature of Kentico Xperience, contact segmentation. So what's contact segmentation? Well, by way of contact segmentation, Xperience allows us to group our site's contact or site visitors into meaningful structures. Why is it useful? Well, by structuring our site's contact into meaningful groups based on their activities and traits, we can target these groups through email marketing, via personalized content, or by other more sophisticated automated marketing processes, which Xperience allows us to create. All this makes for a much better, more engaging user experience for your online visitor. So, what are we going to learn in this video? We'll look at how contacts are captured and how we can make contacts more meaningful. We'll look at what a persona is and how we can leverage the concept of personas to our online marketing advantage. And we'll also look at the concept of contact groups, how they differ from personas and what advantages they offer us. So let's begin. So let's have a look at how Xperience records website visitors or contacts. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the contact management application. And here we should normally see a list of anonymous users or meaningful users, but we don't actually have any contacts at this moment. So we're going to go and jump into a browser and we're going to visit our Dancing Get website as a first-time user in this case, in an incognito window, and then we're going to do a little bit of a journey. So we go through some pages, have a look at some things in here. And at this point, Xperience should have recorded an anonymous contact for us, and there should be a bit of a journey that has been tracked as well. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Let's refresh the contact management application screen. And we have our anonymous contact here. So we can go and click the eye icon here to have a look at what this contact looks like with a bit more depth. And from what we can see, there is no meaningful information at this point, so they very much are an anonymous entity in the system. We do have some tracking of activities, as we'll see in a second. So we can see those pages that we visited earlier. So how do we add meaning to this contact? They're very much anonymous at this point. Well, one great way to do it is by using the online forms that Xperience gives us. So online forms have a feature of allowing us to map form fields to certain contact attributes such as name, email address, etc. We can have a look at what that looks like if we jump into the forms application. Let's click that open and let's look at the contact us form. So we have a tab named contact mapping, and if we go in, we can see some mappings have already been done when this form was created. So the email address on the form will correlate with the email address on the contact, and the first name with the first name, and the last name with the last name. Quite basic, but that should give us a bit of meaning to our contact. So all we need to do as that anonymous user is actually fill in that form. So let's jump back into our website. Here is a form, and let's just go and fill that in. And now if we jump back into the CMS, and if we go back to our contacts, we now have some more meaningful data. So that's really a great way to entice website users by giving them some sort of promotion or some sort of reason to fill in a form, and in that way we can then start to make more meaningful recorded contacts within the system. Now let's look at personas. So a persona is a fictional entity that represents a specific target audience. For example, your target audience might be a group of tech-savvy 18 to 25-year-olds who are interested in photography. You might want to target this audience with a specific line of products. So you can create a persona named, let's say Jane, who will act as a personified representation of this target audience. You're then able to create marketing campaigns specific to Jane. That's of course in the general marketing context, but how does this translate back into DXP land? Well, in a nutshell, with Xperience, we can utilize marketing automation to target the personas we create. So let's jump in and create a persona of our own. I'm going to go ahead and open the personas application, and we're going to create a simple persona named Johnny. select an image. He looks like a good Johnny. Looks good. 100-point threshold. What does this mean? In the moment, we're going to create a couple of rules. Those rules will help the system allocate a contact to this persona if they actually meet those rule requirements. So let's save that. Let's create these rules. So we're going to keep things very simple with Johnny. We're just going to look for someone who regularly browses the store, and also someone who's got a history of making at least one purchase. So for the first rule, let's say browses online store. That rule will be an activity. It will be based on page visits, and these are the activities we can choose from. So page visit is the one we want. The activity URL, so we want them to visit the store. So any page that's part of the store will be counted, and let's make it 10 points. But let's try to get 50 points out of this rule. So we'll make it a recurring rule. So every time they visit the store now, or any store page that lives under the store, they will get 10 points. Now we don't want them to get to 100 points, if they visit 10 pages, because that would make our second rule redundant. So we're going to max it out at 50. So only the first 5 visits will count, leaving the remaining 50 points. Remember, we've got the threshold of 100. So leaving that 50 points to the second rule. So let's create another rule. We'll call that has made purchase. That will be 50 points. It will be an activity. And the activity we want is purchase. Save that. It's not recurring, it's a one-off. Here are our rules. There's also 2 other types of rules we can make. I'll quickly touch on those, though we're not going to use them in this example. The other kind of rule we can do is based on a person's attribute, or a contact's attribute more accurately. And that can be, let's say we want someone who is male. So we would say is male, 50 points, save. And the last kind of rule is my favorite. It is the macro rule. Quite a lot more sophisticated. Let's have a look. We've got basically this subset of these macro conditions that a contact has to meet. So we can say contact is from country. Let's say Antarctica. And we can also say contact has visited specified page in X number of days. So let's select the page. Let's say the About Us page. In the last 15 days, let's say. And you can see we can keep sort of chaining these macro conditions together, and or, so we can link them by or and we could build an extremely sophisticated rule here. However, we won't. For this example, we do want to keep things simple, so let's remove our is male rule. So these are the 2 activities that we're concerned with. So if we go back to our persona, we can see there are no contacts there yet. We haven't actually browsed the site and done these activities, but let's do that now. So here is an anonymous session. The contact has not browsed any pages yet, so let's go ahead and start browsing the store. So remember, we need 5 store page views. So let's look at a bunch of pages. One more. And for the second rule, let's do a purchase of this grinder. Check out. Select our delivery method. Let's do cash on delivery and let's finalize our purchase. Done. So the two rules we had to meet were the 5 page visits and we had to make a purchase. So if we go back into our CMS, here's our persona. If we now refresh, we have 1 contact in there. So let's have a look. Contacts. And there's Larry Smith. So if you remember in the first part of this video, when we looked at contact management, we saw how we can map form fields to contact attributes. Well, when we made that purchase in the shopping cart, there was that online form and first name, last name, email address and country were all recorded. So our contact is now more meaningful. Now, Larry is, if we look at Larry here, he is in the Johnny persona. And what can we do for Larry to make his experience on the website a little bit more personalized? So if Larry goes to the home page, he gets the same that everybody sees basically. So let's do something really, really simple for Larry and change the banner. So how would we do that? If we go to our content tree in the Pages application and we open up our home page, we have a series of widgets, content areas that we can manipulate. So we're just focusing on the banner for now. So we want to change this banner for the Johnny persona. So we click the personalize icon here and we say is in persona. Johnny, so that's a new persona, it is identified, and we're going to add a variant. So let's do that. And for this variant, we're going to browse the media library for a new banner. This one looks good. Select that. Great. Save. So we can see for Johnny personas, this banner will be served, but if we look here, we can see what the original would look like as well. There we go, back to original. Now, if we refresh the page as Larry, we get the cool new banner. That's it for personas. Very, very powerful mechanism and functionality within Kentico, albeit a very simple demonstration. Personas are great, but there's another way we can segment our contacts and experience, and that's via, you guessed it, contact groups. What are contact groups? Well, they're like personas, but not. The difference between personas and contact groups is that a contact can ever only be in one persona. It's a reflection of their behaviors and attributes and is ever evolving. If on-site behavior changes, for example, I stop looking at bicycles and begin looking at cameras for an extended period of time, I'll flow over into a new persona that's perhaps created around the photography world. Personas stay relevant to your audience's behaviors. However, a contact can exist in any number of contact groups. The way I like to think of a contact group is a snapshot of a particular set of features. For example, I might create a millennial contact group based on an age range, an Australian contact group based on contact's location, and a gender-based contact group for all female contacts. We can have all 3 contact groups, and at the same time, a female contact from Australia who is 25 years old can exist in all 3. Contact groups allow us to do some very specific demographic targeting. As well as being able to use contact groups for content personalization, a very strong case for the use of contact groups is email marketing. So now let's look at how we go about setting up our own contact group. So let's look at our contact management, which we saw in the previous section, and we've got a few contacts here, 2 of who are from Australia. That's great. We're going to now open up our contact groups application and create a new contact group. Let's call it Australian Coffee Lovers. Let's make it condition based, and similarly to how we were creating our persona, we will look for a condition based on the country. Here we go, contact is from country. We will say Australia. Select Australia, set, save, close, save that. There is our contact group. We have no contacts in there yet, but if we go back to the general tab, we can see that there's a rebuild required. So let's go ahead and rebuild. And the rebuild is done. We have 2 contacts. Let's have a look. There they are, those 2 contacts who were in Australia. So what can we do now with these contacts that are in this contact group? So as I mentioned earlier, we could go and do some content personalization. So if we go back to the home page, with our persona, we were able to edit that homepage banner, if you remember. We can also edit other content. So we can say this heading, for example, we can personalize it, we can make it based on a contact group, and we can say Australian Coffee Lovers, and we can make a variant. There we go. But as I mentioned, a very strong case is email marketing. So we could send out an email that's specific to some sort of Australian promotion to this Australian contact group. Let's have a look at how that would look. If we open up the email marketing application, there is our Dancing Goat newsletter. So our Dancing Goat newsletter is advertising that Dancing Goat is now in Australia. Let's look at our recipients. We can add a contact group here. Australian Coffee Lovers, perfect. And now the Australian Coffee Lovers group is our subscriber list to our email. And we could then do an email send out. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope there are a few useful takeaways from this video. And remember, with a solid contact segmentation strategy in place, Kentico Xperience gives you the power and tools to give your site visitors a richer, more personalized experience, which hopefully sees an upward trend in conversions. Till next time, guys.